Hi there, my name is Steve Gearhart and this is the Onagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by this week. We are going to do a music review this week. And we're going to do the band Radwimps, a very popular Japanese band who did a soundtrack to a very popular anime movie called Your Name. So let's not waste any time and let's get into it. So the Radwimps is a very popular band in Japan. They've been around for a while now. They formed in 2003. They've had some lineup changes since then, but it's pretty much the band's sound has remained the same. Now, when they did their 8th studio album, it turned out to be a soundtrack, and the soundtrack to the anime movie Your Name. Now, if you're interested in learning more about that particular anime, there's a link down below to the Weekly Dig, because we did it a couple 3 weeks ago. We talked about that particular movie, so if you want to know more about it, please click the link down below. But back to the Radwimps. So the Radwimps, as I said, have been around for a while. They've been around since about 2003. And they're a very solid rock band. They're not like the bubblegum J-pop kind of sound kind of thing that goes on there. So it's a little bit different. It's kind of like how I kind of really enjoyed The Pillows from Fooly Cooly, and that it was a different kind of J-pop sound, not something you normally get in an anime. So how did Radwimp come about to do the score for the very popular Your Name anime movie? Well, let's talk about that. So basically, when the director of Your Name, Shinkai, pretty much got confirmation and got greenlit to make this actual movie, he went to his favorite band, the Radwimps. So he went to them and he said, hey, I would really like it if you did music for my new movie that I'm going to be making here. And the Radwimps were very honored, because this is a really big deal in Japan. When you're asked to do a song for an anime, it means that you get exposure, you get a bump in sales. It's a big deal. So when they're being tasked to actually do songs, more than one, for a movie, then great, that's awesome, and they're really happy about that. And they said, okay, well, we'll make a soundtrack for you. And Shinkai goes, well, yeah, you can make 2 or 3 songs if you want, but I need you to make the score to the movie. Now, for those of you who might not know, a soundtrack and a score to a movie are 2 separate things. They are not the same thing. They're often labeled as a soundtrack, but they really are 2 different things. A score is basically just a series of musical melodies and harmonies and really condensed pieces of music that denote a tone, a feeling, the identification of a character, or a character's theme. And they serve specific functions in a movie. And when you play an entire score all together, you don't get a sense of story. You get a sense of these wonderful short clips of beautiful music, but you don't get anything else out of it. You get maybe a mood and a tone, but if you look at the back of a CD and you see Mushi's theme, well, if you don't know the movie, then that doesn't really mean anything to you, but it might sound good. So a soundtrack is basically songs, actual songs that are fit to a movie. More often than not, soundtracks are already pre-made, meaning that the musical director for a movie will choose already made songs because they seem to fit the overall tone of the movie. So songs are not meant to be themes. They're not meant to be plot elements. They're simply there to set tone. So that's why a score is different than a soundtrack. Now, when you make a soundtrack to a movie, you'll often see that there might be 1 or 2 popular songs, and the rest of it are those wonderful little orchestral pieces, and they call it a soundtrack. The reason why they do that is to try to be able to make the soundtrack sellable. So if you have a popular song attached, one popular song attached to the score, then you might be able to have some record sales. So when Shinkai said, hey, can you do the score for this, and sure, makes a few songs to this, what he was banking on was that he was going to make this wonderful little movie, and he was hoping that by having the Radwimps attached to it, and by the way, he really did like the band, But by having the Radwimps attached to it, then maybe that would bring in more people to see the movie, more people to buy the music, which may mean more unit sales. So it all fits together. It all comes together. So the Radwimps, understood that this was going to benefit Shinkai, who's a fan of theirs, and they understood that this was going to benefit them. So they created the soundtrack to Your Name. And again, just kind of talk a little bit about the score and the difference between the score and the songs. When they did the score for Your Name, they did it in a way that they're not used to. So what happened is that after they talked to Shinkai and said, hey, we're going to do this score, we need to know more about the anime, Shinkai says, yeah, sure, here's the script. Here are my notes on this, here's the characters, here's what I think that the music should be like, here's some back and forth here. And so they created songs based on that, and they said, as the animation started to be created, once they got past the storyboard part of it, Radwimp went, hey, can we see the animation so we can get a better idea? And Shinkai said, no. So they kind of had to do it blind, which was very interesting and why it took a year and a half to actually make this album. As they're making this album, the other part of it is that because it's a score, the music is very condensed and timing is so important because you only have so much time in this movie, and so you want to condense it to something very short and very editable so that you can convey whatever it is that you're trying to convey. So what Radwimp did is they actually said, okay, well, as members of the band, we're all going to do our parts individually, separate from each other. So as a band for the score, they did not get into the studio together. They actually independently went to either their local studios where they lived, or they went to their own studios and produced their portion of the score in that way. So they were never together when they actually made the music. That would be later produced and engineered in at EMI. So after they did the score, of course, Radwimp is just like going, okay, let's do some songs here. And they did about 4 songs. And the actual songs became very, 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 very popular. So popular that they did a US deluxe album where they set the soundtrack to English. So any part of the score or the songs that had some vocal component to it, they actually translated it into English and put a English voice to it, which was the lead singer who had actually lived in America. So he spoke English. So that is the lead singer that you are hearing. So it's interesting, depending upon which version of Your Name you hear, whether it's a dub or a sub, will determine which version of the songs you get. Songs themselves have, like I said before, they're not bubblegum pop, they're more rock. So let's talk a little bit about that. So as I said before, this is not a bubblegum, happy, happy, go kind of song that you get attached to anime quite frequently. This is an actual rock sound to it. The score itself is not orchestral, it's a band sound, it's their sound, it's Radwimp's sound. But there's no vocalization until they actually do the song portion of it. Now, what they did with the score is they made sure that they did not really go overly orchestral. They stayed pretty much true to what they do. So that's why the music to the movie sounds so contemporary. It's because it is. Now, one of the things that comes out in the score, that really comes out, is the piano. It's very contemporary, it's very approachable. It's it fits the movie in terms that this is a sort of sci-fi kind of fantasy, almost kind of a anime movie. There's a very heavy rom-com, very heavy romance element to it, and that piano just brings it out perfectly. I really enjoyed that piano. The songs themselves go into rock mode. So this is one of the reasons why I like Radwimps is because it reminds me of the Pillows, and that it is so different type of music that's being attached to a unique anime. So whenever you hear the music to this, to Your Name, Radwimps is going to come to your mind very quickly. Just like when you watch Fooly Cooly, It's the pillows. So, it's very cool to see that kind of like identifier music. So anyway, the 4 songs themselves are very, very, like I said, they're rock, but I would say that they are alternative rock, and it kind of blurs the line almost into pop a little bit with that piano, that Lisa Loeb kind of vibe to it. And but it's really, really good. And the 4 songs that have lyrics to them outside of the score, when they translate it into English, it still sounds very, very good. Now, there's a slight difference in translation, of course, but you don't lose that much. So it's really kind of worth your time. Now, is this something that I would tell you to go out, buy the CD, and da-da-da-da-da-da? Watch the movie first. Watch Your Name first. And if you like the score of it, because that's the majority of what you're going to get from the album. Again, this is movie soundtracks, movie scores are different than regular actual albums. Like, for example, I'm just going to throw an example out here. Into the Wild, about McCandless, the guy who went to Alaska and died in a bus because he screwed up. He ate the wrong things and kind of died of starvation, as well as probably food poisoning. The soundtrack to that was all done by Eddie Vedder, and the music behind it was not a score; it was a collection of songs that were fit to the movie. You're not going to get that with Your Name. Yes, you're going to get the 4 songs, okay, but most of this is going to be a score. So if you're okay with that, and you enjoy the score, which I think you will, and you're going to love the songs, then yes, go out and buy the album. Or you can just go down below. You can get Spotify online for free, and I have a link to not only the US Deluxe album, which has the English dub to it, but also the original album down below. So the links will be down below if you want to check it out. So am I saying to you to check this out? Of course I am, because it's really, really good. So anyway, that is Radwimps and their album, their 8th studio album, Your Name. Please see the movie. Please enjoy the soundtrack. If you want to know more about the movie, click down on the link below to the Weekly Dig. We did talk about it very recently. And so yeah, don't forget there is an AMV challenge also down below. Check it out down below. If you enter, you might win something. Who doesn't want to win something, okay? So anyway, check it out down below. And as always, we're still dealing with COVID, but a lot more people are getting vaccinated, so we're almost there. So make sure you get your shots, wear your mask, social distance, because wouldn't it be great if you and I could meet together in real life? That would be really, really awesome. So please like and subscribe. If we get about 200 people, then we're going to get, y'all are going to get free digital sushi, and who doesn't want free digital sushi? So anyway, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you guys next time.